Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. He's back. Republican strategist John Burnett is in the bullpen again. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks. Good to be here.
Good to have you back on the show. We're going to chop it up about vaccination protocols, mandates, etc. We may even touch on Colin Powell if we have some time here. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about the current protocols that you see happening around the country, some of the federal policy around it. So what are your thoughts here?
You know, I think we need to get rid of these emergency powers, any emergency powers state by state that remain. And we also need to possibly pull back some of the federal overreach and really get back to normal in the sense of, how we view and handle vaccinations. Based upon the pre-existing state of immunization, all 50 states have some level of vaccination requirements. 44 of them allow for religious exemptions, and others allow for other philosophical exemptions. So I think, for those that are saying that the COVID-19 vaccination, or I should say vaccine, is similar to other vaccines, so let's actually treat it and handle it the same way. So that way we're not mandating the vaccine. And if those states that exercise the right to do that, right, through their legislature, I think that they should also follow the pre-existing laws that allow for exemption on the religious or health reasons. That's just one of the things, and we'll dive a little bit deeper, I'm sure, once we get through the segment.
All right, so John, you are aware that no state has generally mandated any type of COVID vaccine. You do know that, right?
Well, what I'm saying here is that states, you can look at California, and large cities like New York City has created an environment that established two systems in terms of vaccinated and unvaccinated, as far as what you can do what you cannot do if you're not vaccinated, and what you're allowed to do if you are vaccinated. That is very clear.
All right, so let me explain this to you, because systems of vaccinated and unvaccinated people already exist. As a matter of fact, to go to any public school, 100% of public schools since 1981, they mandate a vaccination regimen. You have to be vaccinated in order to attend any public school unless you apply for one of the exemptions. That's not a federal policy, that's not a statute, that's not a federal law. That is a state issue, and all public education adheres to it. Also, 90+% of private schools have the very same reality. There is a vaccination protocol, a vaccination mandate. This has been around for a very long time. And in order to travel, brother, to many countries from the United States of America, you have to have certain vaccinations recorded on your travel documents or passport. And for many countries, individuals traveling from other countries into the United States, once again, the United States government says you must receive a certain number of vaccinations based on their protocol. And immigration in the United States of America has always set a prerequisite qualifier of certain vaccinations before you can come to this country legally. Well, hold on, brother. I allowed you to finish, brother. Okay, so I don't understand why all of a sudden, because there are common sense protocols to things that people engage in as opportunity to travel, opportunity to go to a particular restaurant, etc. Why is it now that this particular vaccine is at front and center when we have had a vaccination culture in modern era since 1981?
Well, thank you for your stream of consciousness. And you bring up two particular situations in terms of education and global travel. But let me bring you to the hood, brother, where everyday working class people are being marginalized and not allowed to go into public venues as well as public restaurants. This is the reality. And as I stated, there are vaccination requirements that pre-existed the COVID pandemic. What I am clearly saying, let's go back to that stage, right? Some of which you pointed out at a high level with respect to allowing religious, health, natural immunity, and other elements into the discussion, right? So again, there is a clear two-class system. And this is affecting people across the political spectrum, those on the far right, middle, and the left, right? Those black, white, blue collar, white collar, right? So it's across the board. People are saying that they want their freedom back and they want to be able to have the choice. And certain individuals, we've seen it even with individuals in the NBA in terms of they're just asking people to respect their personal choice.
Okay, great.
And
we can
allow for religious exemption as well as those philosophical exemptions that I mentioned that are already laws on the books for other vaccinations.
Let me ask you this question, brother. Do you support the US military?
Of course I do.
You know, for decades, the US military has mandated certain vaccinations in order to be a member of the armed forces. And if you get deployed certain places, you have to get even more vaccinations. Some people have had to receive up to 25 different vaccinations based on their deployment.
We're talking about.
Hold on, brother.
I came on the show to talk about mainstream America.
Hold on, brother.
Not the military.
Okay. John, you came on this show to talk about whatever I bring to you and whatever you bring to me. I run away from nothing. I'm going to ask you do the same. Is that fair?
About mainstream America. I mean, that's who watches your show.
So the US military has always had this protocol, right? Now you brought up the hood, okay? Right. I don't know exactly what you mean by the hood. I assume you mean black folks. Okay. So when you talk about,
I know it's been a while for you, brother.
Come on, man. I'm from Glenwood Road, brother. I still get my hair cut at the same spot. I've been getting my hair cut since I was 14.
You didn't know what it meant, brother. I mean, maybe
no. I assume for you. I assume for you. See, I don't equate blackness to hood, brother. That's the problem.
It was just a matter of speech.
Brother. I understand. That's why I said I assume you mean black people for the clarity of this debate.
It's everybody. Everybody. Okay. We're roughing through this together.
I'm going to give you some actual numbers because you obviously have not done your research. Only 7% of black people in the United States of America polled say they are never vaxxers. That's compared to over 20% of white males who tend to be conservative who are never vaxxers. They will never get the vaccination. 89% of black people are actually for school mandating vaccinations for 12 and older when they return back to school because they understand that the school is connected to an ecosystem of their lives at home. And so 89%, damn near 90% of black people are for mandated vaccinations for school-aged children, just as the other vaccination requirements are listed. So when you say the hood is not having access or they're the ones being left out, I don't see black people going to school boards threatening to kill school board members or running them off the road or saying that we are engaging in civil war. I see white parents doing this, brother. So explain to me how you have thrown in the black community in this narrative that somehow they're the ones complaining about a vaccination protocol to the degree that white conservatives are.
Well, I clearly said that this resistance is across political spectrums, across race and socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Let me just restate that for you because you have selective hearing. Secondly, based upon the information that you outlined, right? I know individuals who have taken other vaccines in the past, even take the flu shot, do not want to take the COVID-19 shot.
And they don't have to.
Whether you talk about black, white, or otherwise.
Yeah, and they don't have to.
So I'm not talking about the anti-vaxxers. That's what you want to bring in. I'm talking about the mainstream individuals, right? Who are not necessarily against vaccinations. They just don't like the mixed messages and the information that's out here that's coming from the government and coming from states and so forth that seem to contradict each other. And I think even those who have a comorbidities, right? You know, some of them are even asking, well, you know what? In terms of even the booster shots, those that have even taken the shot, should they have a higher dose because they had a higher risk? Then
all right,
so
brother, let me ask you.
So there's a lot of questions that we need.
Right, we will always have questions about various things. Do you know what percentage of Americans are vaccinated?
It's probably around 2/3.
Okay, yeah, getting there. Fully vaccinated, roughly 60%, at least having one shot, waiting to get the other one. That's closer to 2/3, and that number continues to increase. So when we talk about vaccination protocols, you keep calling it a requirement because people have to present in some places a vaccination card in order to continue employment, and if not, they then have to submit to an actual test. Hold on, brother, that's not a mandate when there's an option.
It is. I'm just calling it what it is. It's a condition.
John, I gotta say this, man, from one college professor to another, you're not engaging in critical thinking. If a person has a protocol at their job that says you can either A, get the COVID vaccination, or you can B, have a religious exemption on record for that, or you can C, subject yourself to a once every 7 day test so that we know that you are not actively carrying COVID. That is not a COVID vaccination mandate. That is called a COVID vaccination protocol because it gives you options so that it is not a mandate. Do you understand that, brother? Does that make sense to you?
Do you understand that it started off as a mandate, and some companies through under the pressure of lawsuits, social pressure, employees actually walking off the job, that we're now seeing corporations saying, okay, wait a minute, we have to continue operations.
John,
let's start opening up for exemptions.
John, you're lying.
Which is already law, as I pointed out.
Okay.
And then others are saying,
John, you're lying.
Let's implement a testing requirement. Why? Because some of these companies are losing the ground in terms of lawsuits. And other companies are seeing the risk of not being fully
Name
staffed.
one lawsuit.
That's one of the issues with the supply chain now.
John, name one lawsuit.
Are not being able to get employees to come back,
John,
because of the issues with taking the vaccine.
Okay,
so now
John,
we're seeing a slow change in the process.
So John, I'm going to challenge you to name one lawsuit. I'm going to show you where you lied. Name one lawsuit.
There are people. Southwest
name the lawsuit. Name the lawsuit that changed the policy.
Southwest has been sued. Delta has been sued. In fact,
Southwest changed their policy.
Southwest just announced that they're going to change their policy in terms of existing employees.
John,
and only hold the line for new employees. You asked me to name one. I just named one. That's hot off the press.
Listen to me, brother, because I know you didn't mean it when you said that the statute or the policy slowly started to change amid pressure. Hold on, John. John, I'm going to show you where you're wrong. The initial executive order, and you can find it right now at whitehouse.gov. And I challenge you to go and look it up after you finish this show. Whitehouse.gov houses the original executive order from the president that created the rule we're talking about, which is if you are an employer with 100 employees or more, you are subject to OSHA regulation as it relates to a COVID vaccine protocol. Inside of the context of that executive order, in the precise language of that executive order, every single remedy and default measure, such as if you do not get the COVID vaccine, you have these other remedies so that you remain in compliance. That was part of the existing infrastructure. It was part of the original executive order, and it did not change because of some lawsuit or some pressure somewhere else. It was always part of the language. You have not bothered to read the executive order. So brother, when you come on a show like this and you say, well, it only changed because of, I really need you to do your research, man.
Let me respond to that.
Doing yourself.
There's only 5 minutes left. Let me respond to that foolishness. Let me respond.
What's foolishness about truth, brother?
Your viewers are actually online viewing this, right? So this is not far-reaching for them. They should actually Google the Southwest CEO's comments. He said himself, I believe it was on CNBC, that the reason why they took the action that they did was to make sure that they were compliant with federal law and the mandates coming from the White House. That's what a CEO said. So I'd rather listen to that CEO who's actually running a business and not someone who's actually has an online show. Secondly,
wait a minute. Hold on, John.
Each company has to manage. Let me finish. Each company has to manage complying with federal law.
That's disrespectful, brother. And let me tell you this, because your ass don't know how to do basic research. Because you don't know how to do basic research. You know what? New York University should be ashamed of having you as a professor. New York University should be ashamed having you on their faculty. Number one. Number two. What you just said was based on what the CEO said in reference to the vaccine.
Right, and he's not the
brother. I'm going to finish my statement. The legal department made it clear at the corporation that this is not a mandate when the other protocols are in place. The remedy of taking the test or having a religious exemption still applies under the executive order. That is a fact. Now, here's the issue I have with you. I invite you to my platform. You are here by invitation. When you decide to criticize this platform or the viewers of this platform or what we do here, I have a personal problem with you. When you say you won't listen to some guy on an online show, that is a criticism, and all of your veiled criticisms, I usually laugh them off. But you are being disrespectful.
I just said you're already watching the show. They and I directed them where they could get certain information, so it's really easy for them. So I didn't criticize anybody watching the show.
The executive order. Shame on you for coming to talk about something that you have not even read. That's silly to me. Why would you do that to yourself?
I read it.
You read the executive order? So you already know that the exemptions existed.
And I already know there's conflicts between state and federal, which again makes it tremendously hard for corporations to figure out what is the right balance between federal and different laws throughout the 50 states. So it's easy to get on a program to talk and pontificate, but when you actually have to run a business,
I run a business, you run a business, but it's really interesting, man. Listen, John, are you a professor for real?
Absolutely.
How long you been a professor?
I'm a practicing business person, not someone that just does commentary on TV.
Yeah, you know I don't just do commentary on television, right? You are aware of that, correct?
No, that wasn't a personal attack. I'm just letting your viewers know that I just don't come on and talk.
Yeah, but are you serious? Are you a real professor or not?
Don't wear your heart on your sleeve, bro. I'm letting your viewers know who I am.
Are you actually a professor?
I'm an adjunct assistant professor, yes.
How long you been a professor?
Several years.
How long?
Several years, man. What's your point?
Do you teach your children, your students? Do you teach your students how to think critically?
Not only critically, how to think strategically.
Okay, and you're still calling the executive order a mandate when it provides a remedy for those who do not want to get the vaccination. You still term it as a mandate, correct?
No, but look, I'm using the same words that are in the media on the left and right?
Well, you need to do your own research and stop listening to what everybody else says.
When you look at New York City, they came out with
the executive action
with a mandate requiring that
John,
teachers
I hope you teach your
get the
children
vaccine unless they be fired.
All right, I hope you teach
the police. Look at how Chicago's handling the police order.
All right, brother,
the order for law enforcement.
Show, John, but I really do hope you teach your students to read better than you do. I appreciate you being on the program. Thank you.
It's all good, bro.
All right, have a good one.